Tamar Braxton invited Khia and the Queen's Court to her show. But of course, Xscape tried to curb them, tried to stop them from coming in, and Vince allowed them to come in. But anyway, here it is. I'm going to sit this right here and let you guys see what happened.
She brought her sisters Trina and Tawanda to sing with her last night in Atlanta. Child, so we're going to act like Tawanda didn't completely mess up the lyrics. But anyway, child, she also tried to bring TsMadison and Khia on stage with her, and it definitely didn't go down. As you know, TsMadison and Khia have their own podcast where they roast different celebrities. Tamar has definitely been on the receiving end.
And why is Tamar retiring now that Tony putting her album out? What is going on? Now let's talk about Tamar filing for divorce from Vince. I told y'all fat niggas cheat too.
As long as they can eat, they can cheat.
Now we know Tamar had to get her face rearranged because Vince been kicking off in her ass. That's why Mama Braxton is back on the docket.
We don't know that to be true. That's alleged.
Now after they roasted Toya and Reginae, Tamar put this under their comments. That's my damn show. I don't care who they talking about. I be dying laughing when they talking about me and mine. Shit is great TV. Now, Tamar is on tour with the ladies of Xscape as well as Monica. And Khia and TsMadison have had some things to say about Kandi as well.
We gonna congratulate you for singing baritone on Broadway.
What's she saying?
Baritone. Every man wants a...
Wait a minute, what it is?
Every man wants a...
Wait, how I go?
Every man wants a woman.
Oh.
Now, Toya and Tamar used to be good friends, but after Tamar got fired from The Real, Toya appeared on The Real and they fell out, honey. She started calling her paperback Toya, and it just got really messy. Tiny and Kandi are still really good friends with Toya, and being that they're part of the group Xscape and they were in their hometown of Atlanta, which Toya also lives in, they didn't think that it would be a good idea to bring TsMadison and Khia on stage. And Kandi was like,
"Not on my watch."
So TsMadison wrote this. Okay, here's the New Year's tea. The Queen's Court was a guest on Tamar's show tonight. The Xscape Punani's told security that we had weapons in an attempt to get us kicked out. Bent stepped in, we got dressed, and we were waiting to go on with Tamar. I'm assuming the Xscape girls wanted us gone, and we did not leave, so they continued to press down on Tamar so she could not do the performance with us. So Vince asked us if we wanted to stay and watch the show, and we said no. We are not here for them hoes, we are here for Tamar. And we left in the limousine that was taken care of by Tamar and Vince. So the who fetches these hoes hair and soda pop, like I said, know your tea like you know your status. Hashtag Happy New Year. Maddie also wrote this. Well, it was about to be an epic night being a part of my girl Tamar Braxton's show tonight, but seems like the Queen's Court got under them other hoes' skin. Like Khia Thug Mrs. always says, F them other hoes. Tamar, you are an amazing, talented, beautiful human being, and you are going to soar on your own. I love you down. So Nate Stewart, who also attended the show, said, Kandi Burruss is the boss. I love you for what you did tonight, ma'am. She caught word that Tamar was about to be petty against Toya by bringing out Khia and her little sidekick during her performance, and Kandi shut that shit right down. I was right there, and both of them had to leave from backstage. That's exactly what their negative groupie asses get. Every man wants a woman. Now, how the hell you rooting for Kandi and gonna throw that shade in like I ain't see it? Let me do it again, y'all. Every man wants a woman. He goes on to say, these nut hoes, any other story y'all hear is all lies. TsMadison responded, false. Nate said, true. TsMadison said, sweetheart, it was false. We didn't perform, but we did not get kicked out. We left, sir. Know your tea like you know your status. Nate said, I'm not about to give you what you want. However, we were in the hallway when security was told to remove you. Well, we can definitely say we'll know who will be on the docket come January 8th. Next case!
Next guy.
Recently, Khia and TsMadison were kicked out of the Xscape tour last night in Atlanta, according to concert goers and people behind the scenes. The Queen's Court were Tamar Braxton's guests and was supposed to come on during her set, but before they could hit the stage, Kandi allegedly had them escorted out the Phillips Arena. The shade of it all was Tamar only invited Khia and Madison to be petty towards Toya Wright, who's had a falling out with both Tamar and the Queen's Court most recently. But TsMadison is denying they were escorted out by security, although Xscape tried to, claiming they arrived backstage with weapons. But Vince, of all people, stopped them from being removed. In the end, they decided to not go on stage and perform with Tamar and left in their limo that was provided by Tamar and Vince. While this tea is juicy, what caught my attention most is the fact that Tamar and Vince are still together, after she just aired this fool out for getting another woman pregnant and being arrested on Christmas Day. And what's more juicy is Vince manages Xscape now, but went along with Tamar to bring the Queen's Court backstage, knowing they've talked mess about Kandi and the girls. This is just a hot mess all around, and it never fails how Tamar is involved in something negative.
For the record, you gave that child too much control at a young age because you always had to tell her to call your dad.
So for those of you who are aware, TsMadison and Khia, they host a podcast called The Queen's Court. It's also a YouTube show. You can find sound bites all over the internet. This show virtually came out of nowhere. TsMadison and Khia, they had put up a couple of videos. The videos were successful, and they decided to basically branch off into an actual show where the two of them sit down and basically roast celebrities. And the show is absolutely hilarious. Sometimes it's a little bit mean, I'll be honest, but for the most part, it's pretty funny. And I guess it's probably funny to me because they're not talking about me. And so some of the celebrities have taken offense to what TsMadison and in particular what Khia has to say. Because to be honest with you guys, when I watch the show, TsMadison tends to try to stay neutral. She tries to interject some physical comedy into the show by bouncing and so on and so forth. But it's really Khia who is sort of the lethal weapon of the Queen's Court, or the lethal gavel, if you will. So Khia has a tendency to be a little unfiltered, unadulterated in terms of her opinions, and so she's not afraid to express how she feels about whomever. Where TsMadison, on the other hand, is a little bit more genteel in terms of her criticisms of celebrities. So most recently, TsMadison and Khia, aka the Queen's Court, were invited to an Xscape appearance this New Year's. Well, they were technically invited to a Tamar appearance. Tamar is part of the Great Xscape tour. I believe it's Tamar, Monica, Xscape. I'm not sure who else, but I know those three people are actually on the tour. So Tamar, who's also been roasted on the Queen's Court, invited TsMadison and Khia to come on and sort of just roast celebrities during her set. And they were happy to oblige and agreed, and Tamar and Vince sent the limousine for TsMadison and Khia, aka the Queen's Court, to attend the show. They came to the show, and it's alleged that Kandi got wind of them being there and essentially asked them to leave. So Kandi's alleging that they were asked to leave. TsMadison is basically saying that they were falsely accused of carrying weapons into the venue, and security told them that they had to leave as a result of that, and they basically took their limousine and went home. So clearly, if the show, I believe Queen's Court airs on Monday nights, if this just happened earlier today, or yesterday I should say, we're more than likely going to hear about this on the Queen's Court. And it's funny in one way and kind of sad in another way, because you want to see Black women being productive and supportive of each other, but at the end of the day, you know, you can't like everybody. I don't care if you're the same race or not. Some personalities just conflict. Now, in this particular case, as it relates to Kandi, I've listened to the Queen's Court and I've heard Khia say some pretty mean things about Kandi, and I can't lie. If I had
a hand in decision making and you talked about me the way you talk about me on my show, there's absolutely no way in hell that I'm going to allow you to use my platform to continue to sort of push your agenda. That's not happening. In the words of Iyanla Van Zandt, not on my watch. So I can see why Kandi would actually take umbrage with TsMadison and Khia having the unmitigated gall to want to come on my show and really push their agenda. So Kandi sort of put the kibosh, and like I said earlier, it's alleged that she put her foot down. I'm not sure if it's true or not, but if she did, I think that she was right to do so. So while there are conflicting reports, TsMadison says that they left on their own accord, that they weren't escorted out of the building. Other people are saying that they were essentially kicked out of the venue. In either case, when it comes to Khia, I'm sure Khia is going to give us the unfiltered truth. She's going to tell us exactly what happened. And it'll be interesting to hear her opinion and exactly how she says things transpired tonight. So if you haven't been watching the Queen's Court, please tune in. And the reason why Kandi, now Khia has said some things about Kandi. She's talked about the size of her vagina, saying that it's a little worn, if you will. But it's alleged that the reason Kandi was so bothered by the presence of TsMadison and Khia is that she was sort of sticking up for her friends Toya and Reginae. Now Toya and Reginae, they even the contention between TsMadison, Khia, and the Queen's Court and Reginae and Toya began in 2017 with this whole diatribe that Khia went on talking about Reginae's, about Toya's promiscuity and about the fact that she keeps marrying different men and taking their names, and then ultimately she comes back to using Lil Wayne's name of Carter, which is not necessarily her maiden name. And so Khia was pretty critical of her, saying, you know, what's her last name? And she was calling her Toyota instead of Toya. She was calling Reginae Resume. And she was basically saying that she can understand Reginae defending her mom because Reginae came to her mother's defense after Khia made some reference about her mother letting men speed at her. Reginae stood up and said, you know, look, it's my mom. I'm 19 now. I'm an adult. I can defend my mother now because she's, you know, people have been highly critical of her being too young to interject herself into adult drama. But one thing I think people have to remember is that Reginae has grown up in a pretty grown-up environment, and she's the product of a teen mother. So with those two variables alone, I think it's going to force you to grow up at a more accelerated pace. So she's really not sort of the same frame of mind that the average teenager or the average young adult would be. She's a little bit more advanced, and you see that in her disposition, which I think kind of rubs a lot of people the wrong way. I mean, let's be honest. Who wouldn't defend their mother? So Reginae is 100% right to defend her mother. I think a lot of people tell Reginae that to not defend her mother simply because they don't like Reginae's disposition. She comes across a little snarky. She comes across a little entitled. And so I think that that's the primary reason why people want her to sort of remain silent, not because she doesn't have the right to defend her mother, but because they just don't like her as a person. There's something about her disposition that really rubs people the wrong way. So anyhow, you guys, I don't really have a dog in this fight. You know, it's one of those situations where Tamar and Vince invited Khia and TsMadison to come on the show. They wanted them to do their thing. And TsMadison and Khia have actually roasted Tamar too. But maybe Tamar was smart enough to say, look, if you can't beat them, join them. So, you know, because Tamar has quite a lethal mouth on her as well. But Khia's level of disrespect it supersedes even Tamar, you know, because Khia is, I don't know, she's a horse of a different color. So I guess Tamar decided maybe it's probably better to be friends with the Queen's Court, because I even saw, I believe it was the Christmas episode of the Queen's Court where TsMadison was refusing to impart her opinion on Tamar, being that the two of them were friends. So because of that, Tamar invited them to the show, but Kandi said no. No, thank you. Khia also does an impersonation of Kandi. Every man wants a good woman in this sort of deep baritone voice. So I'm sure all of those things combined were probably part of the reason why Kandi said, no, we're not going to do that. Not on my tour. You know, you guys have a platform of your own. I'm not on your platform. So I will not allow you to make money on mine. Anyway, you guys, so welcome to 2018. The mess is in full effect. Comment below. I want to hear what you guys have to say. Whether or not you think it was right for Kandi to kick TsMadison and Khia out of the Great Escape tour, or whether you think Kandi should have, taken the high road, so to speak. I'm not one of those people. I know Michelle Obama famously said, when they go low, we go high. So it depends on the day of the week, because sometimes when they go low, I have to go lower. So I mean, at the end of the day, if it's Kandi's show and she's one of the people in charge and she doesn't want them to be on there, you can't go out here, in my opinion, disrespecting people and then expecting them to write you a check by virtue of allowing you to appear on their platform and gain a greater following.